Hi, I'm James Glass, and in this video I'm going to talk a little bit about grinding and polishing concrete countertops. The techniques that I'm going to talk about can be used to grind and polish any concrete, outdoor tables, coffee tables, any kind of landscaping feature. Basically, anything that you can cast in a form and that you might want to grind or polish, it can be done. But tonight's project is a concrete countertop. It's probably the thing that I tend to work on the most when it comes to concrete, that I want to finish, that I really want to grind down and that I really want to polish up and either put an epoxy coating on the top of it or a wax and a sealer. I'm going to do some other videos on form building and the ways that you can build different types of forms for different applications. I'm going to talk a little bit about aggregate, about dyes, about things that you can cast in the concrete like fossils, all kinds of cool stuff. But tonight we're only talking about polishing and grinding concrete. So the tools are actually relatively simple. They're generally inexpensive. You can get started for under $300 in terms of basic tools and equipment. You can buy them on Amazon or eBay. You can go to places like Burns Tools. The Concrete Exchange is run by a really old school guy that's been doing concrete even longer than me. His name is Cheng. He also has a lot of literature out there. So if you go to the Concrete Exchange, it's his website, and you can find all kinds of cool stuff. So the first thing to talk about is the actual polisher. That's this right here. And it can also be used as a grinder for really small discs, and I'll talk about that in a second. But you'll notice that this looks a whole lot like a right angle grinder. And in many ways it is, except it's a little bit more waterproof and it's GFCI protected, and it has a hose connection and a little water valve down here. And in the center of the grinder, I'm going to go ahead and remove this disc. In the very center of the grinder, the arbor is hollow and water comes out of it. So it's basically a right angle grinder that's been made specifically to wet polish. And the only way you're going to be able to do concrete work in terms of any appreciable polishing is to wet polish. You can't do it dry. Sometimes you can grind concrete dry. It's horribly dusty. There are applications that you might do that, but if you're going to do countertops, the most common thing, you're going to have to get a wet polisher. And this particular brand is called Kawai. They have some kit deals. They have like a thing where maybe this is like $199 or $169 or something. It's not an expensive tool, all things considered. And they also have one where they have an abrasive kit included, which might be like $250 or $270 or something like that. So a wet polisher. So the first thing you want to do is go out and research wet polishers. The brand that I had before this was Alpha. It was also very good. This Kawai is very good. If you use these a lot, you can get a year or two out of them before they burn up. They're good for like probably 250 or 300 hours of work. And it's kind of nice because all the new stuff comes with a splash shield that you can hook a vacuum to if you wanted to. Kind of cool. So wet polisher, go do some research on that. Absolutely mandatory. You're never going to be able to polish concrete without it. And the next thing you're going to need is some protection. The cool thing, you're going to be working with electricity and water. All of the wet polishers that you're going to buy are going to be GFCI protected, so you're not going to get electrocuted, which will kill you, or shocked, which will hurt. But at the same time, believe it or not, there's nuisance electricity coming off the machine that just doesn't feel good. So I wear these heavy-duty rubber gloves. I got them at Harbor Freight, and these are actually PVC-coated chemical gloves that you can use in a parts cleaner if you wanted to. These are fantastic. They're completely waterproof. They're super thick, and it feels you're safe. But if you get really wet and your work is really wet, you will feel electricity coming from the polisher into your hands, and it's extremely uncomfortable. It's not enough, the GFCIL trip, I think it's 5 milliamps. So it's obviously less than 5 milliamps, but it's enough that it's kind of like, ooh, I don't like this feeling. It kind of feels like, a little bit like when your leg goes numb, but not quite that nice. So a set of gloves is really great. This will insulate you from that nuisance electricity. I also wear a rain coat and rain overalls, and I think I picked these up at like Tractor Supply or something like that. They're heavy vinyl, and I dress, you'll see later in the video, I dress in these, and I wear heavy duty rubber boots. And that way when I'm working, I can stay dry, because this thing will sling a lot of water. So now let's talk about what hooks onto the tool. You cannot put super heavy objects on the tool. It's really designed for polishing, but you can use a 4-inch cup disc. And you can Google that and do some search terms for that. This is extremely coarse. It will absolutely tear up and go through material extremely fast. If you're using this, you're going to leave big scratch marks. This is not for polishing. What I use this for is honing. When I cast concrete, I cast it in forms off-site for countertops, and I cast them upside down. The bottom of the form is the top of the countertop, and I put whatever aggregate or fossils or rocks or whatever I want in there. And the bottom of the countertop, when it's installed, is the top of the form. Well, you know, I screed it off and I trowel it off and it's smooth, but I hone it. And I hone it so that when I glue it with Loctite power grab, I have a nice surface to use the construction adhesive to between the plywood that I've got on my counters and the bottom of the concrete. It's really nice to do this. I'm also going to be using this tonight on the face of my concrete countertops, because I want them to be extremely rough looking. I'm actually doing distressed concrete countertops on a bookshelf that I built here at my house. So I'm going to purposely be putting scratch marks in. But this will remove a lot of material quickly. And you gotta really work it fast across. You'll see when I'm grinding, you'll see a lot of slurry come off. So you can use a small 4-inch cup disc. On these small grinders with these small motors, you cannot use a large cup disc. This is a 7-inch cup disc. You need a really large angle grinder to use this, or you're just going to destroy the motor in your tool. So do not use one of these large cup discs. This is not for that application. So here's the primary reason you're going to be polishing. You can do a little bit of grinding, a little bit of honing, no big deal. But this is the bomb. This little flat dude has got Velcro on it. This little base has a 5/8 inch thread, which fits into the 5/8 inch auger, and it's got a hole in it. The water comes through the middle of the hole and disperses over the work surface, and then you simply put your diamond abrasives, which you can get from all the same places, Amazon, eBay, Burns, all those places, Concrete Exchange. And you can buy kits of these, and there's like 8 to 10 discs in a kit, and they run from like 50 grit, which is the coarsest, all the way up to like 3,000 grit. I'm here to tell you after 1,200, 1,500 grit, you're not making more of a dent in concrete. You'll just never, unless you're polishing stone like granite, you'll never use those finer 2,000 and 3,000 grit discs. But diamonds are embedded in this polymer, and when you use the Velcro to stick it on to the base and screw this to the polisher, you now have the system that you can polish concrete with. And then this is a 5-inch disc. You can also, I have some I'll show you a 4-inch disc. You start with 50, peel it off, stick on your 100, peel it off, stick on your 200. When you're satisfied with that, peel it off, put on 300 or 400, and you just keep going on up until you get the surface to where you want it. There's a lot to talk about in terms of filling voids and all this. I'll do other videos on that. Tonight is just about using this tool. So here is a 4-inch disc, right? Same thing. It works exactly the same, which is a little bit smaller, I guess, in corners. The purpose of these is to polish the flat surface of the countertop. Do not use these on edges. You'll just destroy them. They make special tools for that. They make they make diamond, all this is diamond aggregate. They make diamond drum sanders that you can hook to this tool so you can do around, like if you're doing an under sink mount and you want to polish the concrete around the edge, or you want to polish the edge of your concrete top and you want to maybe do a little rounded edge there. They have tools for that. You can do a quick Google search. So tonight you're going to see me, actually, I'm going to set this up here. I grind outside of my shop here. I've got a little drain system set up and everything. And you'll actually see me using the cup disc to hone, to grind the base. And I'll be doing the face on the concrete slab I've already cast. And then you'll see me use those polishing discs on this tool. You'll see water come out of the center of the tool. And you'll also see me changing the RPMs of the tool. And that's vitally important because when you are at high RPMs with particularly coarse, like say the cup disc or the number 50 polishing disc, you'll remove a lot of material. Pull the concrete out of the forms after 5 to 7 days, as long as it's been in the 65 to 70 degree range for the concrete to set up. And then I'll go ahead and use the number 50, the most abrasive polishing disc to quickly remove material. And then I'll just keep taking those scratch marks up to about 1200 or 1500. And the reason I say 1200 or 1500 is when you buy these kits, you might get a 1200 disc, you might get a 1500 disc. Either one is fine. That's as polished as the concrete is going to get. So the variable speed, the rheostat that's in the polisher is vitally important, because when you're using that 50 grit disc, or you're using the cup, this guy, the little cup disc, you will remove a huge amount of material quickly, especially if your concrete is still soft. So if you have, this guy right on here, I can dial this up. It's got a little RPM chart on it, and down at the 1 setting, you're running about 1300 RPMs. All the way up to 6, you're running 2800 RPMs. By the way, right angle grinders and stuff are running way north of 8000 RPMs, so they would never work. That's way too fast. But at 2800 RPMs and an extremely aggressive abrasive, you're just gonna burn through all your aggregates. So if you cast in some real fine rocks or some cool things in there, maybe some pennies or some thin gears or something, you're gonna destroy all your hard work. So when I start out, I generally start out down in the 1300 to 1500 range and kind of see how much material I'm moving with the coarse stuff. Now as I move up 500, 400, 500, 800, 1000, 1200 grit, I can increase the RPMs a little bit. And this valve also allows me to adjust the water flow. So if I'm removing a lot of material, the water is both a lubricant and a coolant. So I want to make sure I'm using enough water to keep the surface lubricated so I don't wear out my expensive diamond discs right away. These cups are these cups will last a long time, but you still wear them out. They'll wear a lot faster dry than if wet. But I want to use enough water that this is fully closed here, this is fully open. And I generally run somewhere between 25 and 75%. I've never had an application where I've had full flow water. It's just way too much. But you want to use enough water that you're lubricating and cooling the surface, but not so much that you're just making a huge mess. It's just really sloppy if you use too much water. So the RPM, every single one that you're going to buy, every single polisher you're going to buy is going to have an adjustable RPM gauge. It's going to be a little dial thing down in the back. And the Alpha has it, this Kawai, all of them have it. And you'll read your manual and you'll learn more about that. A lot of it's just going to be in practice. The things I'm telling you now, you're just going to have to go do. So it does have a hold button, which you're pretty much just going to leave it on. You're going to put that on and lock it. And then I have a series of different handles that I can mount to this. I can mount a handle on the side, on this side. I've got a big handle. Tonight, for what I'm doing, I'm actually not going to use any handle. And when I am out there polishing, you're going to notice me going, and I'm going to talk a little bit about it in the video too, I'm going to cover the whole area. I'm going to be going left and right, in cross-stitch sort of hatched pattern, and you can't just hang out in one spot because then you'll get a divot. You know, you've got to do a good job of polishing everything very evenly. So that's basically it. You can get started by buying one of these kits online. Like this Kawaii kit, I know they have a kit with the starter abrasive set for, it is under 300. I want to say it's like 250 or 270. And I think it's a 5-inch hook and loop system. And you can buy one of these cup discs if you need to do honing. I think these guys are like 40 or 50 bucks. The bigger ones are close to 100. You can get yourself some rain gear and some rubber boots in the $50 to $80 range, and you need a little electricity, and you need a nice clean water source, and that's it. So you know, you can get started for a stunningly small amount of money. Definitely under 300 to get the basic tools, another couple hundred to get some ancillary stuff. Depending upon what form you build and what concrete you cast in it and what cool things that you put in it, you can spend a huge amount of money. I did a countertop a few years back with a large, like bigger than my head trilobite, and that fossil cost me $175. So, and then I cast everything in melamine. I'll talk about that in another video, and you know, that's like 40 bucks a sheet or whatever I pay for it. So, you know, doing this can get expensive. If you do a kitchen, don't be surprised that you'll drop hundreds and hundreds of dollars in just form materials and silicone caulk and hardware and, you know, all the cool stuff that you're going to put in. And then you got to make a concrete choice. I cast a lot in fiberglass block bond. I'll talk about that in another video. And that stuff, it's fiberglass reinforced concrete product. And that's a very expensive product, especially if you're buying in 50-pound bags and not making your own. And you know, so concrete's not cheap. I don't want to give you the impression that this is stunningly cheap. But conceptually speaking, when you add everything up, you could do a small kitchen for under $1,000. And buy all the gear, buy all the forms, buy the concrete, plus your time. And generally speaking, if you're doing sort of a small galley style kitchen or an average home size kitchen, you will be able to do at least one, if not two, using the abrasives material before you wear them out, the discs. You'll be able to get at least one kitchen out of it. And let's say, you know, you're going to do 18 linear feet of counter space at 2 feet deep, 36 square feet. You'll get for sure that out of these discs. When you buy these discs, you'll notice different prices. That's because they're different thicknesses. The cheaper ones are usually like just a couple millimeters, and then the more expensive ones are 4 millimeters thick. So there's more diamonds in the ones that cost more. So don't be fooled by that. Don't just look at two side-by-side comparisons and say, oh, this one's half the price. It's probably half the amount of diamonds too, so it's going to wear out a lot faster. But even if you buy the most inexpensive diamond polishing discs, you'll get a kitchen out of it. So let's go look at how this tool works, and let's go see how I've got this set up on this last piece of countertop that I'm getting ready to grind and polish for the project here at my house. Okay, I have the concrete counter that I want to grind set up outside. It's a really small piece. I'm just doing it really quick before the boys go to bed. I'm going to hone the underside of it so that it lays on top when I glue it in place. I'm going to knock down the high spots, and then I'm going to use the same hone on the sides because I want very coarse scratch disc marks on the sides. And then I'm going to be doing just a real quick polishing on top, a little bit of 50, a little bit of 100, a little bit of 300, a little bit of 500. This is a distressed countertop that I'm covering in epoxy. I don't want it to look too polished. I'm leaving the imperfections in, I'm leaving the air holes in it. I'll take some photos of it when it's all done, but I actually broke off corners of it. I cut it with my saw, and I snapped and scored off rebar sticking out of it. It's ground down so no one can get caught on it. But you don't have to think of concrete countertops in the same way that you might think of highly polished granite or marble. I suppose you could distress granite, but I'm not sure anybody ever has. I suppose they could. The cool thing about concrete is you can do an unbelievably refined finish, but you can also put almost as much time into doing an incredibly unrefined finish. And so for this application, that's what I'm going to be doing. Never ever, ever use electricity and water unless you've got a GFCI protected circuit. It only took me about 10 seconds to realize I had forgotten my earmuffs. So I used the cup disc and I just lightly honed the bottom and the material came away very fast. This is an extremely abrasive disc. And I did the signs to leave the grind marks. And now I'm going to go and actually use the polisher. I'm going to start with 50 grit. I'm going to increase the RPMs on the grinder polisher because I had them turned down for this, because if I'd have had it turned up, I really would have removed a ton of material. So you'll notice that as I change out pads and go to increasingly higher grits, smoother, I'll also be increasing the speed. Take note that I am moving evenly over the whole surface. I'm doing a sort of a hatched pattern, a crisscross pattern, and I'm evenly covering everything. I'll go back and forth this way, back and forth this way. I'll do some diagonals. The goal here is that I'm not leaving the polisher in one spot too long. Don't want to put a groove in there. I don't want to wear down a low spot. I want this thing to be evenly polished. I threw some aggregate in this form, and I've got some swirl marks and things like that, and I don't want to like grind away too much of my aggregate. I don't want to polish away too much of my aggregate. So I'm doing a careful job of moving evenly across the surface. Okay, so I'm up to 400 now. That was the abrasive I just put on. I'm going to continue on with that for a while, but pretty much after that it's a little bit of 500 and I'm done. So this is a primer in concrete polishing. The tools and equipment you need a wet polisher, which you can also use as a grinder for small cup discs up to 4-inch. You're going to need the diamond polishing kit, which you can buy online, and you can get, usually a kit comes with 8 to 10 discs, depending upon the manufacturer, ranging from 50 to 2,500 or 3,000 grit. You're going to need a set of gloves and ideally some kind of rain jacket to keep yourself relatively dry. And you'll need electricity and you'll need water. And I guess that's it. Besides the concrete, you'll need concrete to polish. So go out and get yourself a wet polisher, go find yourself some concrete and have a good time. Thanks for watching this video.